Hey everybody, this is Johnny, and you are listening to the Talk of San Diego, and we have a pretty good show going on today. And we are out here at Clyde's Air. And we have a gentleman from Clyde's Air, and his name is Dan. Dan, would you like to introduce yourself to the listening audience?
Hi, everybody. This is Dan Moriarty. I'm out here at Clyde's Air with Johnny. I'm the marketing director and tour development person with Clyde's Air. So hopefully you'll enjoy what we have to tell you about today.
And tell people where you're located.
Well, we're located down on Marshall Avenue, right at the base of the tower at Gillespie Field, and you can't really miss it. If you take the 52, go on out, and then take Cuyamaca over to Marshall, make a left on Marshall, and you're at the airfield. The tower is the tall building with the windows in it, with the actual controllers that tell people what to do, and we're at the base of the tower.
And hopefully they're awake.
They are. These guys around here, they don't take naps,
right.
And we make sure they don't. We scare the heck out of them as much
Buzz
as
the
possible.
tower a couple of times, like in Airplane.
They have plenty to do. This field they use to train a lot of the guys that come in here as tower controllers, and they really have a lot to learn. So they have to know how to interact with the pilots, rotorcraft, and fixed wing pilots.
And we're out in El Cajon.
Yeah, that's correct. Santee, El Cajon area.
Right.
I myself live up in Encinitas. I've lived up there for 37 years. But I do drive down to Gillespie Field because I love the weather. I love the location. I especially like the training environment here at Clyde's Air because there are other places to train helicopters. But this is where I chose back when I got started and have not regretted it.
And how long ago was that?
Well, I started flying airplanes about 25 years ago, and I've always been interested in rotorcraft, but for some reason the opportunity to fly them never really surfaced until about a year ago, and I met Steve Killian, the owner of Clyde's Air, and we got to talking, being pilots, we just sort of got to chatting, and he was a rotorcraft pilot. He says, well, why don't you fly helicopters? And I'm like, well, why don't I fly helicopters? That's a good question. So we got together, and we started realizing we had some similar ideas about aviation in general. And one of the main reasons why I haven't flown helicopters up to that point was I just was under the impression, and it was real, that helicopters were too expensive to fly. I pretty much, and now that sounds funny because I flew in airplanes, but there always has been that dichotomy or that difference between aircraft, fixed wing, and rotorcraft.
And possibly a misnomer?
Well, it's not. It is really true that helicopters have always been more expensive to fly, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But I took it as a challenge from a marketing perspective and a business development perspective to kind of look into that a little bit. I want to know why that is so, and if they are slightly a bit more expensive or not. I mean, how cheap can you fly a helicopter? And I knew that would translate into being able to fly more often for myself and for anybody else.
And so where did the training aspect come in between you two? When did you decide, hey, I think it could be a good idea to train people to fly a helicopter?
Well, I did what probably a lot of people will do when they ever decide to try rotorcraft. I just said, you know what? I've actually never been in one of those things. I would like to try to fly one. So I did what they call a Clyde ride, because it's Clyde's Air, of course. So the Clyde ride is what I did. And anyway, I learned very quickly that flying helicopters is a challenge. And I mean to tell you, I wish somebody had videoed my first attempt at hovering a Robinson R-22. I'm telling you, it wasn't pretty. I can give you that for a visual. But according to the owner, he was kind of worried that he might have to buy a complete rotor assembly because I had that thing standing on its nose and sideways and whatnot. I was about 10 feet off the ground and in the capable hands of Scott Woollums, who you just flew with not too long ago. But I'll tell you, it was an eye-opener, let me tell you.
Touch and go.
Yeah, it was incredible. But I tell you, I got out of that helicopter at the end of the Clyde ride, which was not all about hovering. We went all over the place and did some off-field work.
Kind of the same one that I just came off of?
Exactly. We did similar to that. We didn't have the pinnacle landing that you did, but we did some other stuff. But anyway, I got back and I could not get flying that helicopter, I should say attempting to fly that helicopter, out of my mind. I was thinking about it for days, and I go, by God, I love that. I want to do it. I don't want to fly nothing else. I just got to get this. I got to be able to do this. It was a challenge, and I like challenges.
And there's so much cooler things you can do. I mean, not to say flying a plane isn't cool, but there are a lot of cool things you can do in a helicopter, huh?
Well, at the time, I was just trying to figure out how to fly it. That to me was like a challenge in and of itself. But yes, absolutely. The view, the feeling, the absolute freedom, and planes don't fly backwards. Planes don't take off straight up and down. Planes definitely can't land in the place that helicopters can. And the aerodynamics, which I started to learn just doing my own research and reading on them, was incredible. I mean, I started to really have an appreciation and respect for the people that design these things. I mean, it's just an incredible machine. It's as close to getting in a spacecraft as anything I've ever seen, and it was pretty neat.
And the ride that I went on, I videotaped it, and it was, about half an hour or so?
Yeah, the Clyde ride's a half hour, and I would have to ask you, did you feel that was a good time?
Oh, that was great. I mean, we went all the way up to Vicente Dam, and then we landed up on top of a hill, and coming off the hill was just incredible. I mean, it's like a roller coaster. You just look down, and whoa, there's nothing but space below you, and you get a different aspect of you're normally on a flat plane, and now you're looking from above, bird's eye view, so it's great. So as far as anybody wanted to look at the video, you can go to my YouTube channel, and that is The Talk of San Diego. Just go to youtube.com and type in The Talk of San Diego, and you'll get a chance to see the video that we shot. It was unbelievable. It was great.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm pretty much in the same boat when I did it. That was less than a year ago. I'm just about ready for my check ride here. I've got a check ride coming up in rotorcraft, and that's just an additional rating for a pilot that's already fixed-wing pilot with other ratings you can add on a rotorcraft rating. One thing I would mention, or like to mention anyway, while we have this opportunity to talk to the public, is that in that earlier research I talked about trying to make some inroads into how expensive helicopters are to fly. I actually did that, and we broke it down to just the basic cost of flight. And here at Clyde's Air, we decided to implement a unique program in our area. We have a pilots club where the pilots can actually basically own or be in an equity position in the club, and we fly. Believe it or not, this is going to sound crazy, but we can actually fly the Robinson helicopter, including fuel, for $100 an hour wet, which is absolutely unheard of. And we also have another program which is the same thing, really, but you buy in for a little bit less money and you fly for $150 an hour wet. So either one is it pretty much pencils out the same for the first year, but for the second year, of course, once you keep flying these things for a while, your costs are much better on the first program. $100 an hour wet is just incredible. So the students, as they come through to learn and get their ratings, they just can't wait to get into the pilots club because everybody wants to keep flying and they want to do it affordably. And here at Clyde's Air, we have taken that to a level that nobody's really done before. So we're really happy about that. We're proud of it. We'd like people to come in and check out our program, and I think they'll be pleasantly surprised with what we have here. The level of professionalism that these people have. Our chief pilot, for example, you can stop me at any moment, but I'm just talking about it. His name's Rafael Novo. Over 15,000 hours, commercial, real-world hours, and he flies EMT right now. He's flying emergency flights, for rescue, as in like your air ambulances. He's done offshore work. He's been to Alaska. He had his own operation out of the country for many years. He's been in and out of the United States market a couple of times. He owned a successful flight school and ended up selling that and made his money there. And he's just at the perfect apex of his career. So the pilots here at Clyde's Air, they're not learning from like a new person. It's not like the blind leading the blind, or I wouldn't say blind, but let's just say the less experienced leading the less experienced. Here you have an extremely experienced man in all aspects of helicopter work who is really mentoring everybody, including our flight instructors. So
one of the best of the best.
And you will know that because Rafael is a pilot. That first and foremost. Every student here has to fly with Rafael, and every instructor here has to fly with Rafael. And let me tell you, that's an experience that is really, really quite nice. And I won't go into too much, but the owner, Steve Killian, he's also a 25-year helicopter veteran pilot. We have a lot of fellows here from various walks of life. One of the youngest people we have here, his name's Cole. His dad owns No Fear. That's a famous clothing line in our area here.
Well, why don't we take a break? and we're going to hear from one of our sponsors. And then when we come back, then we'll talk about that gentleman, because I wanted to make a comment about that as far as the who takes lessons out here. So this is Johnny, and you are listening to the Talk of San Diego. Hey, this is Johnny, and we are back. You are listening to the Talk of San Diego, and today we are out at Clyde's Air, and Clyde's Air is located out at Gillespie Field in El Cajon in California, and it's one of the more popular airports out here. And we are talking to Dan, who is one of the marketing and managers, kind of a guy out here at Clyde's Air, and we were just talking about some of the clientele that you have out here. And what I was going to ask is, before we went to the break, the age from 6 to 60, what kind of age if you're looking at becoming a pilot?
Well, that's a good question. Let's just start on the young age. We have our youngest pilot to date right now, and he's in training at this point. His name's Cole. His father is a helicopter pilot. His father owns a Jet Ranger, so he's not unfamiliar with helicopters because he has one in the family. But
he's the gentleman that I saw when we came out here originally. He was hovering over the field, kind of going through the motions there.
Yeah, if you look to your left there, you'll see two sandbags. See those sandbags
exactly.
Right there? Well, Cole is not a big fellow because he's only about 17 years old, and we use those sandbags to equal the weight that we need to get the weight and balance correct and balance out the helicopter.
Between the pilot and the passenger.
Exactly. Right. In other words, so he's young and he's a very, I would say, he's very wiry, but he's not real heavy. So we put it's kind of funny. We get a big kick out of that. When I see those sandbags there, I just get a big kick out of that because we ballast the aircraft to accommodate that and get a perfect weight and balance with the helicopter. So he's flying. His dad has chosen our company here at Clyde's Air to teach his son, and then like I said, his dad could pretty much pick anywhere he wants for his son to learn to fly. And this young man, Cole, has a good aptitude, not just because his dad has a helicopter, because frankly that does not translate to aptitude, but as a young man, he's also works as a fishing, he's worked as a deckhand on a commercial fish boat, and his dad really likes him to get out there and do things. He's not one of these, I'm a rich kid, I get to do whatever I want. No, his dad's really got him out there in the mix, and his dad is really a great guy. So anyway, so Cole's flying with us on the young age, and then on the older ages, we have people at this point at about 64, 65 that are just basically getting their add-on ratings, which is they're already airplane pilots, as in fixed wing, various ratings there, and then they want to get a rotorcraft rating. And so that's just simply they are already a pilot. They don't have to do the check, they don't have to do the written test, with the FAA. They do have to pass the oral and, of course, the flight examination with an examiner. But so we have a varying range from about, like I said, 64 down to 17, and then people in the middle. And Clyde's Air has really promoted a few interesting features. Our original ad series ran with the Looking for Bonnie, because we kind of doing this Bonnie and Clyde, of course, being Clyde, and Bonnie, where is Bonnie? And we're still, believe it or not, looking for Bonnie. So we're looking for a female that wants to come and train helicopters, and let me tell you, that is a great opportunity as a job opportunity for a female that wants to be a pilot. Guaranteed she's going to get hired over any male pilot, because simply there are very few female helicopter pilots available. And we will also give some incentives to any female that wants to do that, and then there's other incentives that come from the Whirly Girls and things like that. So women have a great opportunity here, and we are looking for our first Bonnie. We don't have one yet, but for any of you young ladies out there who are pilots or like to be a pilot, we invite you to come on in and give it a try.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good invitation.